guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a little fan going because it's a little hot in here, so if you can hear that, I'm so sorry. I'll try to speak over it, but if you couldn't already tell by the title, in today's video we're going to go over the 13 books that I read in the month of January. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the books that I don't physically have and that I read as an audiobook, because I feel like that would be easier, and then I can show you guys like the physical books that I actually have here. So we'll go ahead and kick this off. I read 13 books in January. I think my average star rating was about 4.2 according to, not Goodreads, Fable. According to Fable, my average is about 4.2 for the books as far as the rating goes. And that puts me like well on track or above track for hitting my goal of reading 65 books for the year. I think I set it about this low, or I think it was 60 last year, and then I exceeded that by reading 87 or 88 books last year. So I'm going to keep it low because I have a lot of things going on. I've started a new career path and it is taking up a lot of my time. I'm actually really surprised that I was able to read 13 books this month. And I'm trying to like hit that, or at least get 10 books read in the month of February. I'm already on the first book, but we're not going to discuss that. We're going to go ahead and jump into January. So the first book, and I do have my phone right here with the books listed. I'll put a picture of the complete books that I read, and then I'll do them one by one for you guys. So the first book, well, not the first book, but one of the books, because this is not going to be in any particular order. I read The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adriana Young. That book was... okay, let me caveat by saying a lot of the historical fiction books or contemporary fiction books that I read, they were all sad, okay? So you guys are going to get tired of me saying that. As a matter of fact, anytime I say the word sad, take a shot, or, you know, add a book to your TBR collection or do something book related, okay? But The Unmaking of June Farrow was extremely sad. I think I read this when I was traveling back to the base for work. And for those of you who don't know, originally I started out making military content. I am a flight medic in the United States Air Force, so if I reference the base, that is what I mean. But that book was extremely sad. Like, once you got into the nitty-gritty of it, it was kind of tragic too, because I don't want to spoil it. If you guys haven't read it, go ahead and read it. I thought it was good because I do like elements of magical realism in books, especially when they're done well, and this author did do it well. But by the end of it, or like close to the end point, I was a little confused. And if you guys have read the book, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Like, the ending had me like with the little question marks around my head, and I was like, what the hell? But the whole story was extremely sad, but it makes sense because it took place in the 1950s. Well, it didn't start, but that's where everything kind of like ended up, in the 1950s in the South. And you guys already know how women, I mean, even to this day, are treated. So that was, whew, yeah, sad. And then the next book that I read, like I said, this is not in any particular order, I'm just calling them out. The Dictionary of Lost Words. And y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you, any book that is in like Reese's book club picks, I don't know what it is, but they really do tug at my heartstrings. And I've noticed a central theme around the stories being around women and their contributions to society, fictional or not, because it is hard to see women or read women being mistreated or left out of really significant parts of our history, when we all know like America was built on the backbone of people of color, and like women, we've had to sacrifice. We still to this day sacrifice a lot. So all that to say, Reese's book club picks will always like steer me in the right direction and give me the kind of read that I didn't know that I needed in my life. And this one was a really good book. Now the female main character in this, she lived in the UK, I want to say. I'll put it on the screen if that's incorrect, but she basically got a really good education because her dad worked with several other men back in like the 1800s, creating like the first dictionary, and then things just kind of blossomed from there. Words that they deemed not worthy of being put in their dictionary got scrapped. And as a young woman, she would pick up these words, you know, read them, come up with her own meaning based on how people like non-affluent or wealthy people use these words in an everyday setting. And then she, of course, there was some other things, like she was grieving the loss of a child, and I don't mean by like miscarriage or death or anything, but it It was sad. It was so sad. And then next I read The Christie Affair, which this book was based on the author Agatha Christie. And I want to say I read maybe 2 or 3 of her books back when I was in high school. They didn't really like grip me or like, you know, make me super excited, because a lot of her stuff is based on like, you know, murder and kind of like a suspenseful aspect, and those are not like the kind of books that I like to read. But this book, again, sad, so sad, especially in the time period and what happened. This is another one where one of the female main characters lost a child, but not to a miscarriage or death or anything like that. But without giving too many spoilers, if you guys are interested in any of Reese's book club picks or any of like the historical fiction or contemporary fiction kind of books, that would be a good read, and I'm not gonna spoil it. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. Then I read 2 books by Jojo Moyes. I'm gonna learn how to say this author's name, I promise, but I'll go ahead and put them on the screen. I read Me Before You, and then I watched the movie. Of course, you know, the movie adaptations always kind of miss a few things, or they kind of like swap some of the elements of the story just to kind of like, you know, make up for, I want to say the hours anywhere from like an hour and a half to 2 hours to make up for like the timing. The book was so sad, like literally brought tears to my eyes. And then watching the movie, I was trying to like make those connections from the book. And I know the movie came out a while ago, but I never watched the movie, and I really wanted to read the book before then. And then I also read Someone Else's Shoes by the same author, and the fact that 2 of the main female characters, one was American, living or stuck, if you guys are ready, you know what I mean by that, in the UK, and then the other female main character like lived, born and bred in the UK. The American one, she's like scrappy, a fighter, like she worked hard for everything that she got and to get into the positions that she got into, and then she lost everything, but then she regained everything in a different kind of way. And then the other one, the first person I was talking about was Nisha. That was her name in the book, and that's the American person in the UK. And then the other one is Sam, born and bred in the UK. She's just like kind of frumpy, down on her luck, you know, working a dead-end job with a boss that she hates, which that part right there was relatable, because the job that I currently have, let's just say they can count their days. That's where I'm gonna leave it at. But it was interesting because they literally took a walk in each other's shoes and got to experience like how the other one like lives or what they're going through, and it was tough. I'm not gonna say it was sad, because they ended up having a better ending than how things started, but it was like certain parts of it was sad and like really hard to hear. And there was a child involved in Someone Else's Shoes, and his story was kind of sad, but then I was super happy when like him and his mom reunited. So yeah. And then next I read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, and this book, I remember Shaughnessy, I think that's her name, she's a booktuber, black booktuber, who read this book and was talking about it, raved about it. Y'all, it was messy. It was really messy. And I usually don't like to go into too much detail in these videos because I don't like them to be super long. If y'all want my thoughts on any of these books, I leave all of my ratings, like detailed ratings, on Goodreads and Fable, and that's always linked in the description box below. But this book was, I was like, what? I had to like make sure I was listening to what I heard. I had to rewind things in the audiobook. It was wild. If y'all are into it, check it out. But it was messy. But I did appreciate, you know, all of the characters in the book were black, and the female main character was black, but child, she had a lot going on, a lot. And then I think that's it as far as like audiobooks and books that I don't have like physical copies of. The next 3, I'm saying 3, but one of the books is actually 5 books in one. But the next 3 books I have, I actually did immersive reading. So as you guys know, if you don't already, I love to do audiobooks with the physical books if I can. And it makes the experience that much more fun for me. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about this one, because this series right here, baby, St. Abby, I don't know what was going on when this book was thought up. She was writing, making the edits, revisions, whatever, but wild as fuck. And I'm gonna say I don't care for like serial killers, thrillers, suspense, horror, mystery, like I don't like any of those. but the way this was done, it was wild. The serial killer in this book is a female, but she's only killing people who basically destroyed and killed her dad and her brother. Okay, so it's like revenge serial killing. And when you guys read what happened to her, you will be behind her 110%, because I don't know too many people who would have came out alive, let alone on a, you know, plot and plan to like pay these people back after what she had been through. So I 100% condone it. But I did think the romance between the love interest and the female main character was like super insta lovey super fast. Like, her love interest is a male FBI serial killer profiler. Okay, he has no idea that she is the person that he is looking for, and he actually thinks that the person killing these people is a man, when in actuality it's her. And it's just the way that they met. I thought it was kind of cute, and I thought they were gonna kind of drag it out, but then it was just like they like fell for each other hard. So that kind of like took me out. But fortunately, there was a lot of backstory input into like what was currently happening, so you guys got a good understanding, and you got bits and pieces of everything as the series continued. Now, like I said, this is one book, but it's all 5 of the books in one. Like, she's thick. I want to say this was almost 700 pages. It was, yeah, 683 pages, so almost 700 pages, and it was all 5 books. So these were the 5 books. These were actually the last books that I read in the month of January, and this whole series had me looking like the wide-eyed emoji, and I was like, there's no way that just fucking happened. But if you haven't, and I know this has been out for a while, because I heard about this, I want to say in 2023, I bought it in 2024, and I only just now read it in 25. Pick this series up and read it, especially if you're into the true crime, like murder mystery podcast. Just to be right up your alley. Go ahead and give that a read. And then the last 2 books that I read, they were by Black authors with Black female main characters, and I absolutely love that. It actually got me back into my YA fantasy era, because at first I was just like, I don't know, like I was reading like some of Lynn Painter's books, and I didn't care for Nothing Like the Movies, I think it was what it's called. I actually despised like the writing and the characters in that book, and I was just like, ugh. But then I found these books, and this first one, this was, who brought this up to me? Booktuber Kalila, I think is her name. She is Black booktuber, and she was talking and raving about this book, and I actually ended up getting the second book in this series, and it is next up to be read. And then I want to say the third book comes out in March, so I'm super excited to get my hands on that one. But this was really good. This took place in North Carolina at UNC. And essentially our female main character, she's actually in high school, but she got accepted into an early college program where she and her best friend, who is Asian, so we love, you know, people of color, minorities in the books, representation through and through. They got accepted into the program early so that they could experience life as like a college student at their college of choice. And then she ends up finding out a lot of like her family history. And it also is it's like a, what is it, Author in the Round Table are like intermixed into this series in a very interesting way. And her love interest is white, like I don't know if traditional is the right word, but blonde hair, blue eyes, like tall, athletic build, like that kind of white. That is her love interest, and it is getting interesting. Like, this book left me on a cliffhanger to the point where like I had to get the second book, and I'm trying to like slow down on reading it because it doesn't come out until next month. The third book in this series doesn't come out until next month, and I'm really trying to like stretch it out before I like finish it too fast. Like, I even haven't the second book is queued up on Spotify. Okay, I'm ready to like immerse myself back into this world. But essentially she loses her mom and then finds some things out about like her heritage, her family, like her legacy, the history behind all of that. And she's dealing with a lot of like grief and mental health issues, so it does cover those topics. But this was a really good book, and I'm so mad that I'm just now discovering Tracy Deonn, because this book won the Coretta Scott King Award, and it was well deserved. I gave this book 5 stars, and I love it. Like, I love this, that representation. This is what I've been missing. Okay, and the very last book, because I want to wrap this up because I don't want this to go into 20 minutes. For Tommy, listen, this is supposedly, there's talks about turning this into a movie adaptation, and I know they're not gonna hit everything, so I am really trying my hardest to like slowly get through the series, because I do have the second book, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, is actually on my February TBR, and then I just recently got, and I really didn't want to because it's a hardback, but I got the third book in this series, and it actually is the smallest book, but I do love the sprayed edges and the theme that it kept going with. When this comes out in paperback, I will be getting the paperback as well, okay? But this series and the fact that it's being adapted into a movie, and the cast that is supposed to be playing some of these characters, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I know they're not gonna do everything, like hit every detail, but this book was so interesting. It's a similar story. The female main character is Black. This takes place in like I don't want to say Africa is magical, but like an magical version of like Africa. All the people like white hair and dark skin have magical powers. They lost magic a while ago because of a king and his greed and his consumption of the grief of his family. The female main character's mom died, and she is discovering a lot about like her history and her legacy and the part that she plays in her Magi clan. And it is, the magical system in this one is interesting and very different. I don't think I've read anything like this. And I love this. Like, I love the sprayed edges in this book. I love the story. I love the characters. Like, again, they're young, but they're going through so many hard times. It is crazy. And then there is bits of, like I said, grief, colorism. There's a lot going on in this book, but it is good. If you haven't checked out this author, please do, because like I said, I got all 3 of the books and I'm still trying to like take my time getting through it, because I read this in 2 days. 2 days. Okay, and this book is well over 500. How many pages is in here? Like 530 something pages. Read it if you haven't read it, especially before the movie comes out. But #1 New York Times bestseller, I can believe it. I'm here for it. I stand on it. I'm happy for it. But yes, that was, oh, and that book was a 6-star rating for me. Okay. Those were all the books that I read in the month of January. You guys, let me know in the comment down below, how did you meet your reading goal for the month of January? What books did you read? Are you guys picking up any books by Black authors in the month of February? Like, let me know, link with me in the comments, or in the community post, because I'm very active in there, and on Threads as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.